Welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious is that grace appeared the hour I first believed, when we bear there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've numberless days to sing God's praise. Then when we first begun, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Remembering September 11th, 2001, 12 years later. Our country suffered a terrible tragedy that day, and we were attacked by terrorists, and it's important that we remember that event, and that we remember that there is an enemy out there, and that Al-Qaeda is still striving to attack this country every day. We're still their enemy, and they're plotting attacks, and we need to be ready and prepared to prevent them from doing another attack on our soil. after September 11th, we took the fight to the terrorists in two fronts in the war on terror, one of them in Afghanistan and the other in Iraq. There's actually an article that the new Iraqi leader, Maliki, wrote in the Washington Times, and I actually want to read you some of what he had to say about the Iraq War and about the events that have taken place since. This is what he wrote. He said, "Today, on the 10th anniversary of the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, the debate about whether it was worth it to topple the regime and the direction of the U.S.-Iraqi relationship is influenced by a pessimistic view that the United States has lost Iraq. Not true. Despite all the problems of the past decade, the overwhelming majority of the Iraqis agree that we're better off today than under Hussein's brutal dictatorship. Iraqis will remain grateful for the U.S. role and for the losses sustained by military and civilian personnel that contributed in the ending of Hussein's rule. These losses pale by comparison, of course, to those sustained by the Iraqi people. Our government emerges from this experience determined to ensure that these sacrifices contribute to a future of freedom and prosperity for our country. Our relationship with the United States did not end when U.S. troops departed in December of 2011. I stood with President Obama while he spoke of a normal relationship between the United States and a sovereign, self-reliant, and democratic Iraq. Iraq is building an inclusive political system with free multi-party elections, a multi-ethnic government, and an independent judiciary. Our gross domestic product is expected to grow by an average of at least 9.4% annually through 2016. Last year, we surpassed Iran to become OPEC's second largest producer of crude oil. Iraq is not a protectorate of the United States. It is a sovereign partner. Partners do not always agree, but they consider and respect each other's views. In that spirit, we ask the United States to consider Iraq's views on challenging issues, especially those of regional importance. Iraq is developing an independent foreign policy with no intention of repeating Hussein's wars. We are committed to good relations with all our neighbors. We offer the hand of friendship to Jordan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, sharing a 376-mile border with Syria and a 906-mile border with Iran. We have a vital interest in stable, non-hostile relations with these countries too. In Syria, we could conceive of no scenario in which a military victory by either the government or the opposition can bring peace and stability. Only a negotiated solution can lead to such an outcome accordingly. We oppose all transfers of weapons to both the government and the opposition, and we are working to ensure that our airspace and territory are not used for such transfers. Further militarization of the conflict will only increase the suffering of civilians and strengthen radical groups, including our common enemy, Al-Qaeda. We have been mystified by what appears to be the widespread belief in the United States that any outcome in Syria that removes President Bashar al-Assad from power will be better than the status quo. A Syria controlled in whole or part by Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, an outcome that grows more likely by the day, would be more dangerous to both our countries than anything we've seen up to now. Americans should remember that an unintended consequence of arming insurgents in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets was turning the country over to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Iraq's longest border is with Iran, and we don't want to reprise the war which left hundreds of thousands dead on both sides in the 1980s. We would like to see a Middle East without weapons of mass destruction, where governments are committed to development and cooperation rather than conflict and competition to obtain nuclear weapons. But as with Syria, we seek a peaceful resolution of this issue. The peoples of Iraq and Iran share historic, cultural, and religious ties. While we want our relationship with Iran to be stable, it will never be subservient. Iraq follows an independent foreign policy based on its distinct interests. This has been proved by our decision to sign the Strategic Framework Agreement with the United States and our commitment to maintain a strong partnership with the United States on political, security, and economic levels. Our cooperation with the United States continues to bear fruit, and we hope to accelerate and energize it even more. While our journey with despotism to democracy has not been easy, the Arab Spring has shown that all countries going through such transitions face turmoil. The protests in several cities in Iraq reflect the fact that while some sectarian elements call for violence, the majority of Iraqis want to express their demands through democratic means. With provincial elections this month and general elections next year, Iraqis can resolve their disagreements with ballots, not bullets. With the world's fifth largest proven crude oil reserves and the region's fastest growing economy, Iraq is an important energy supplier and trading partner for the United States. With our needs for infrastructure to restore our electoral power and water supply, Iraq offers investment opportunities for U.S. companies. The United States has not lost Iraq. Instead, in Iraq, the United States has found a partner for our shared strategic concerns and our common efforts on energy, economics, and the promotion of peace and democracy. So here's the new leader of Iraq, who was democratically elected by the people of Iraq. Here he is writing this article in an American newspaper, and the mainstream media never even picked up on it. Look how positive this is. This is the leader of Iraq saying America has won the Iraq war. He says the Iraqi people are happy with what's happened there and that democracy is springing there. And he talks about how good their economy is. He talks about how their economy is booming. These things are all positive things going on in Iraq. And the Iraqi leader is telling us this and saying that, you Americans should stop being so pessimistic. Look at how things are going here in Iraq. And things are going really good there. And I really like it how Maliki says the United States has not lost Iraq. We haven't lost Iraq. We won. We toppled Saddam, and we defeated Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And really, we should be proud to be Americans, because that's what Maliki is saying here, is that we should be proud of what we have accomplished in Iraq. And I just think that that's pretty cool coming from the Iraqi president. Our troops really deserve this praise that's coming from the Iraqi president, because we've had troops that have fought and died for Iraqi freedom. And now we're seeing the fruits of that effort. Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
Hey, man, I just want to talk about that Iraqi leader a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we've been misled about that war. I think that our soldiers over there have done a great job in Americanizing those Iraqi kids. You know, Bush told those kids out there, or those soldiers, to take those kids out and play ball with them. Play baseball. They played kickball. They taught those kids how to dance. They took them to movies. People don't realize the soldiers were doing all this with the kids over there for 10 years. And they've Americanized those kids. They don't want anything to do with terrorism. Those kids have grown up for the last 10 years that are now becoming the leaders over there, and they've grown up with the American soldiers. And they want an American economy. They don't want any of this Muslim stuff. And I think that Iraq, I don't think it's going to go back to being a Muslim, or not a Muslim, but an Al-Qaeda sponsored state at all. I don't think it's going back there to become another Saddam, because I think that the kids have grown up wanting freedom, and they're going to vote for it.
You know, me too. I don't think it's going back to that either. We know that before the Iraq War, that there were terrorist training camps in Iraq that were financed by the Iraqi government. One of them was called Salmon Pack, and they were actually training terrorists to hijack airplanes in that terrorist training camp.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that these new kids, they've got cell phones. They go to school now. The American soldiers have built nice schools. They've put in water systems for them, so they've got running plumbing and electricity. They watch Chuck Norris movies. They don't watch. They're American.
Yeah, it's true.
They like the music that our kids in this country like. A lot of American soldiers took lots of Bibles in there.
Absolutely.
And I think that I think they're going to have a struggle, just like America. It took 100 years for America to finally become what the founding fathers wanted it to be. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
But it's happening pretty fast in Iraq. They're becoming 90% of the people there go out and vote. They vote against Sharia law.
Well, and you know what's awesome about them voting? Is every year there's an election there. The terrorists are out in full force, blowing people up, trying to prevent them from voting. But these people are willing to risk their lives just to go out and vote. Like, that's always been inspiring to me.
Yeah. And so, and they're getting along better over there. They still got the terrorists and stuff, but even those sectarian groups, it's just a small fraction of them that are still fighting.
Yeah.
The majority of the people over there want democracy. So.
Yep.
I think that we're going to find out the American soldiers spilling their blood over there has freed millions of people. I mean, even those women are throwing off those headdresses. They don't wear those head covering over there anymore. And those women are now running businesses.
Yeah.
Most of the popular businesses over there are run by women, Iraqi women.
Well, it's true. I mean, that's one of the positive things that have come out of our efforts there too, is that women's rights. Women have more rights now. You got all these liberals out there saying that Republicans are waging a war on women. That's a bunch of bull junk. I mean, if you look at Iraq, the women there have way more rights than they used to have, and that's because of George Bush.
Well, because, and also Malaki, is that his name? How do you say his last name? The president over there?
Malaki.
Maliki. He's against Sharia law, and the majority of the people over there have thrown Sharia law out.
Yep. Well,
that's what's going to save Egypt, too. Egypt would have been destroyed if you got that Muslim Brotherhood and that Sharia law in there. That would have ruined Egypt. I know they don't like the military taking over again, but by golly, they were headed for disaster.
That's true. Well, thanks for calling.
You bet.
Okay, have a good night. Bye. He's absolutely right, about these positive things that have happened in Iraq, and they are things that America should be proud of. And the mainstream media really needs to start telling Americans, what's going on there. Because really, since Obama has become president, we don't even hear about what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan anymore. Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
Hi. I was just going to say, it looks like Obama, he just dropped the ball on Iraq and kind of left them totally on their own. So, but it sounds like they're doing pretty well, being able to offer jobs to the American people in different countries, I'm sure, to come and do electrical and all kinds of plumbing and building.
And they're offering those jobs to Americans.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Malachi's saying, hey, he probably understands we're in a recession right now, so he's like, hey, guys, come work for us. Mm-hmm. We're offering you guys jobs.
Well, there's really no end to their recovery being good because they've got all that money coming in from oil, and my gosh, there's no end to the money that Iraq has.
Yeah, their economy's booming right now.
Yeah. So anyway, I wonder what's happened with Afghanistan. Never heard nothing about it anymore. Never in the news. Don't hear nothing.
I know. Ever since Obama came president, we never hear about it. News never reports on it, which is kind of sad because we have soldiers that are still fighting over there.
Well, yeah.
They're still dying over there, and we don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Afghanistan and Iraq aren't even important enough for the media to report on, even though we have soldiers that are dying there.
Well, I've noticed that ever since when he was reelected. I used to hear about it every day. My gosh, it had pictures in the news was full of it. It's almost a daily blow-by-blow description right out in the battlefield,
Well, and the Democrat Party and the liberal news media back then was trying to hang the Afghanistan and Iraq war around George Bush's neck. So they were reporting on all the bad news instead of the positive news, and they were saying, hey, look, this is George Bush's fault. But now that there's a lot of positive news that have come from, that's the thing about war, is a lot of people die, a lot of terrible things happen. And the media was trying to use that. And that happens in every war. World War II, it doesn't matter what it is, those things happen. But also there's positive things that come out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, the freedom that's emerging in Iraq and in Afghanistan. There's voting going on in both of those countries.
Well, about the only thing we ever hear about, my husband has two grandsons over in Afghanistan, and one of them just barely got back. You there?
Yeah.
Oh.
What did he?
Yeah, one of them just got home from Afghanistan, so his tour was over, but he still got one over there now. But that's about the only news that you ever hear is from somebody that returns.
Awesome. Well, you guys should be proud of him for serving our country.
Yeah, he's real proud of him.
Well, I'm proud of him too. I don't know him, but I'm proud of him. I'm proud for what he's done for America.
Yeah.
And for
that's right. That's his second tour over there. In fact, both of them have been over 2 different times.
Yeah.
In Iraq and Afghanistan both. So.
Well, what has he said about what's going on over there?
He just says it's there's not an awful lot of activity like there used to be, of course, And
so, as far as violence and stuff.
Yeah. And the one boy, I mean, and I asked him, and he said, well, I can't. He said, I can't tell you anything, or I'd have to kill you. Oh, I better not ask any questions.
He probably knows some information that hasn't been declassified yet.
Yeah.
And he might put other soldiers at risk if he
Yeah.
did tell you.
So anyway, well, I just thought I'd check in and put in my 2 cents.
Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah, okay, bye-bye.
Bye. I want to switch gears here for the last segment of the show. There's another video I want to show, and this is about education. This is pretty much Obama's main contribution to education in this country.
I remember him using this in his campaign against me, saying Barack Obama supports teaching sex education to kindergartners, and which I didn't know what to tell him. But it's the right thing to do.
Against that backdrop, I heard a quote today from Senator Barack Obama, which puzzled me. He said that we should have sex education in kindergarten. I'm not kidding you. And I scratch my head as I hear that. Sex education in kindergarten. As governor, I was governor 4 years. I never had a parent come to me, not once, come to me and say, you know what, Governor, I'm concerned about something. What's that? I'm concerned we don't have enough sex education. I don't think our kids are learning enough about sex. I never heard that. And so I was shocked to hear that he thinks we need to have sex education in kindergarten. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a need. He went on to say, of course, it should be age appropriate. How much sex education is age appropriate for a 5-year-old? In my view, 0 is the right amount.
So there you heard it, folks. Barack Obama's main accomplishment as far as education goes is sex education for kindergartners. And I think that's kind of sick. Why should we be teaching kids about sex before they learn how to read? I mean, I don't know, something just seems wrong with that. And I've got to tell you that, I'm disgusted by that. And Mitt Romney's right. How much sex education is appropriate for a kindergartner? 0. I couldn't agree with Mitt Romney more. And basically what this is about is when Barack Obama was a senator in Illinois, he co-sponsored a bill that provided sex education for kindergartners. And in that bill, it said that ages K through 12 would be learning how to prevent HIV/AIDS. Now, there's only so many ways you could have sex and prevent yourself from getting HIV/AIDS. There's not very many ways out there. In fact, there's one way I think that's running through most people's minds. I mean, is that appropriate for a kindergartner? Do kindergartners need to be learning about condoms and about, other methods of HIV prevention? I don't think so.